Welcome to Geeks Talking Geek. If you're watching this live or if you're watching us on a rerun, it's only going to be me and Sylph. Might be me and Sylph, but we got a lot of things to talk about. We are going to be talking about the controversy Rachel Zegler has brought on with Snow White. That we're also going to be talking about the non-controversies going on with Lilo and Stich, and we are going to be talking about Hasbro constantly fumbling the ball with D&D. But we are also going to be bringing up some good news for you TTRPG fans, and that is with the original founder, as he brings up as his children bring up his legacy. So joining me is Sylph, my resident TTRPG expert.
Expert's a bit strong. Hello. I'm just an avid player, and I've appreciated both being a DM and being a player.
Yeah. And but one of the things that I've noticed is that a lot of people have been bringing this up. Is one of the things that the newest edition of D&D has brought up was that you could actually own an inn or go to wizarding school and have like a Harry Potter thing. But when a lot of people brought this up, especially in the D&D boards, like the if you wanted to do something like that, you would go to another, like, if you wanted to own an inn, why not just go to Vampire the Masquerade and play it and own a club? Or if you wanted to go to wizarding school, why not play the Harry Potter TTRPG?
Not only that, I've talked with a bunch of other players themselves, and I've heard of campaigns where they did a homebrew and the entire party owned a pub or something like that. Like, they've been doing that far before these new rules came out. It just mattered on how much effort and creativity did you want to put into it. It wasn't cookie cuttered out for you. It was something you had to build and put passion into in order for it to actually turn into something.
Yeah, and I feel like when Hasbro when Hasbro and WotC thought that this would be a good idea, they just decided, oh, everybody wants to do that, and it just became like they'll just print it out and it's not the same. It'll be like an IKEA, an IKEA drawer instead of
less sandbox, more going along Baldur's Gate, where you, in the beginning, it gives you the imitation that you have choices, but as soon as it gets to the second to third act, it gets very strict and, okay, you got to do this in order to do this in order to do that, and it's no longer free will choice, choose your own adventure. It's you're doing what the game wants you to do.
Yeah. All right, so let's go to our first subject, and that is, this weekend, Snow White has been released to a worldwide audience, and it is not surprising that right now the Rotten Tomato score is just abysmal. Got a 44 Rotten Tomato score, and right now there are people sharing pictures online of how of the theaters being empty. And I have seen this, or other people who have went to the movies, they came back and they were like, yeah, nobody went to the theaters. And
it was like I was saying prior, where it's to be expected when the main actress herself has decided to speak poorly of the film she is working in. It starts to have an air of unprofessionalism around it and leads people to believe that it's not going to be good or worth their money. I mean, y'all see how expensive these movie tickets are these days. We're not just going just to hope a movie's good. It's, I know that's good. I saw a couple trailers of it, it actually looks good, like visually. It looks great. That's no surprise. It's Disney. They can do amazing things with all their CGI and animation. Can't really get much writing from the actual trailer itself. It looks like they've got a lot of the main aspects to a certain degree, you know?
Yeah. And but one of the things that I basically saw a spoiler review, and so spoilers if you guys don't want to know about this, but um they actually took a scene from To Kill a Mockingbird in it in the story in the movie, and you've read the To Kill a Mockingbird, or you've seen the movie, have you, Rachel?
I've read the book, yes. I've read the book.
Yeah, and there was the one part where Atticus Finch was basically preventing the mob from hanging his defendant, and the girl actually came up and was saying, "I remember you, and I remember you," and This was basically the same thing that was happening, because the queen told the townspeople to kill Snow White, and Snow White started saying, "Oh, I remember you, and I remember you," and I was like, okay, Disney has just became creatively bankrupt if they're stealing lines from To Kill a Mockingbird.
Like, there's directly stealing lines.
Well, not directly, but it is like the scene is similar to it, and I'm like, but that's from To Kill a Mockingbird.
Well, in that scene, it was a great tool aspect in showing that the defendant himself was simply just one of them as well, and Scout was trying to show the commonality between all of them, and there was no need for this violence. That can be a great writing tool if done right. Now, if it does come off as a preachy moment, it's not done right. The killing To Kill a Mockingbird did it very spectacularly. I hope it's not the case that it's just creative bankruptcy.
Yeah, and but one of the things that people say was that the the entire thing was what was very reminiscent to Renaissance of the Disney Renaissance. The entire like wardrobe that the evil queen wore was beautifully done, and I feel really bad for the people who worked on this movie. I mean, it feels like these movies are now done by committee instead of like having a singular vision in mind. Because I saw Nosferatu over the holidays, and I liked that movie. And this the 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 director Roger Ebert, he does not care what people say. The only time he ever varied from the path of his own type of vision was during the Northman. During the Northman, because the the studio wanted to market it, but so that was the first time he ever caved, and he did not. And he said that he wouldn't cave to a studio again.
Hmm. I personally didn't watch Nosferatu yet.
Now,
I do plan on doing it. It sounds like a very good movie. Just haven't come around to it, sadly.
yeah, it brings up like very like I remember like in The Witch, it would bring up it would bring up like like meanings of expectations for women and religion and everything like that. Also, like in The Lighthouse, I loved The Lighthouse because it was like that that was just showing like so much what like solidarity could do to two men, and it's like, is it real, or are they just going insane?
Hmm.
And it's like those are the type of movies that makes him ask questions, and I hate that. And spoiler alert, but with Snow White, they basically at the end the mirror basically spells it out to the evil queen, at the end.
What do you mean by that?
It's that it because the famous line, "Mirror, mirror, all on the wall, who's the fairest one of all," and it says you may,
Mm-hmm.
and it says you, and the at the end it's like uh it was like one of the things that she said, what the mirror said like oh, you is like, you may be fair out on the outside, but Snow White will be but snow but beauty is more than skin deep, for Snow White is beautiful inside and out.
It was saying the message of the movie. I see.
Yes, it's like hang on. Let's put some intermission. Uh, Crap, I forgot to get the intermission thing.
Quick intermission.
Because I heard my stepmom.
Okay, I'm gonna go grab some water real quick then.
All right, quick intermission, guys. We'll be right back.
Pardon.
Okay, I'm back. Man. Uh, uh, hey, and so far there are I don't want to celebrate this because it. I don't want to celebrate this failure because it took a lot of work for this. I mean, their sets burned down. I don't know if you heard about the whole reshooting thing, because after what Peter Dinklage said, they were going to change it. They were going to change it from seven dwarves to seven magical companions. And when when people heard about the seven magical companions, it got a lot of negative attention, and then they shifted back to seven dwarves.
Reasonably so. It
And
was like, okay, you're taking dwarves and you're equating them to magical creature sidekicks. Like, I don't know. That's just not how that works in my head.
uh, and plus, people were saying how this was basically taking Peter Dinklage. What Peter Dinklage was saying was he was paying what them with. Disney being very inclusive. Then listening to Peter Dinklage, he was basically taking away actual jobs from other little people actors.
And he's very much so right.
But the whole like CGI dwarves brings up the uncanny valley. Subject. Have you seen the? I know you're an artist, and how difficult it could be to like give like something like the Disney dwarves a sense of realism, yet sometimes also giving them a sense of a sense of fantasy. Do you think
Mm-hmm.
do you think they did a good job or not? Because
I just don't understand why, like Peter Dinklage mentioned, they didn't just hire little people to do the dwarves instead.
yeah,
Why did they need to animate it? But I did not pay the utmost attention when I watched the trailer. That being said, I didn't feel any uncanny valley vibes from them. They were just imitating the original traditional Disney style, which was the big eyes and the round mouths and all that fun stuff. That's all I thought it was.
yeah. But this was like the first movie that basically cemented Disney as an animation powerhouse. This was basically the what brought Disney as a major studio. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it's just Snow White is timeless, but with modern sensibilities. hmm, I don't know. I've always detested when everybody says everything needs to be political, and when you and they're like, oh, what about, well, how come there are no black people in there, or how come there are no trans people in there? I'm like, can you just not and enjoy the movie?
Uh, I don't know where that came from. Pardon.
Yeah. Sorry. Sorry. It's just because there were so many people. Like one of the there was pictures of the seven magical companions, and they had like an Asian, they had a black woman, they had a little person, and people were like, okay, so these are the second seven magical companions. I'm like, okay, so these are supposed to be the stand-in for the dwarfs. And then you hear more. One of the things that people were really like upset about was the casting of Rachel Zegler, and I'm like, oh, okay, why? And she's like, they're like, well, because the description of Snow White. I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, Mom, that makes sense. And they're so, and I don't mind if they casted a Latina, but I mean, Snow White, they said skin white as snow, hair black as ebony, lips red as blood. That's always has been the description of Snow White. And I'm like, so Disney was basically over a barrel trying to appease everybody, and for that they appeased no one.
Yeah, I certainly agree they didn't do Snow White this remake justice in their attempts to fix things they deemed problematic they took away from the original story.
Yeah, and like this was pretty much brought up. Well, like I don't know. I keep my ears out for the theme park business as well because I love theme parks.
Mm-hmm. Theme parks are fun.
Yeah, like one of the things that people were talking about were where they want us to change the ending of Snow White's adventures, when which actually showed true the ending of the movie with Snow White with the prince kissing Snow White, and they were like, and people were complaining. I'm like, why are you complaining? And I was thinking, why were they complaining about this? And they brought it up. It was like, oh, he's kissing Snow White without consent. What?
Certain things just need to be slapped on with, this was a different time. Things were different. Yes, this is now viewed as problematic. It wasn't back then. Go on. Because I appreciate when Disney does that with movies. Instead of changing them, like the original Peter Pan. They put at the beginning that a lot of stuff in here was problematic and is not, it didn't age very well. That being said, let's appreciate the movie for what it is and appreciate the fact that it's not like that now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I remember watching the old Popeye cartoons when I was a kid, and yeah, some of the stuff was problematic, but I didn't automatically think all Native Americans were basically red guys smiling all the time.
Hmm.
I just loved watching Popeye. But here's another thing. We're gonna move to our next subject
Okay.
about about controversy. Have you seen the new trailer of Lilo and Stitch?
Yes, I have. I actually quite like it.
Yeah, like when and I actually like the casting because they have a couple of no-name actors who are playing the sisters. And let's get this one open.
It seems like they're going to appreciate the original story for what it was and add some entertaining scenes that weren't from the original story, but they are so well integrated that when I saw them, I was like, wait, that didn't happen in the movie, because I had to remind myself they were adding parts. They did a very excellent job from what I
Yeah,
could see from the trailer. Stitch
yeah,
does not look like a hideous little bugbear.
yeah,
He's actually cute.
and yeah, I actually saw the first Lilo and Stitch was like the first Lilo and Stitch was on the Super Bowl. The first reveal of Stitch was on the Super Bowl, and I was like,
Mhm.
oh wow, Stitch looks Stitch looks pretty good actually.
They
So let
learned
me
from
pull this.
songs. They learned what to avoid.
Yeah, so this is actually one of the things that was like a controversy, like what I'd call a controversy. This came out a couple years ago, and this is when the character was when Lilu's sister Nani was announced, and this was just went over, and I'm like, are you serious? A native Hawaiian is being they're saying this is like colonialism whitewashing just because she's lighter skinned than the actual character. So like right here it says Disney casting Lilo and Stitch prompts colorism debate. Native Hawaiian fans say Disney track record whitewashing characters. They're not happy with the reimagining of Nani as a lighter skinned biracial actor for the classic movie of the upcoming adaptation. But like the whole thing I thought was like ridiculous because she's a native Hawaiian and but she's half white. The only thing that they say was like she's lighter skinned.
She actually kind of looks like Nani too. So I
Yeah,
think she was hired for her facial likeness, because at the end of the day, you can change lightings and make someone look a little bit more melanated than they actually are.
And I bet she actually got a tan,
Yeah.
a nice tan while working on the set.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very sunny. Most sets have a lot of bright lights or are in sun with hot heat and stuff like that for that perfect lighting. So, exactly, she probably got a tan while she was on set.
Hmm. And I
I was look
actually, well, go ahead.
I was gonna say I was looking at her eyes, and her eyes are actually really beautifully. They're round and big, and they actually kind of look cartoony, but obviously they're not because it's her eyes. I think it was a really, really good pick. If she's got the acting skills for it, great visual pick. Because the only thing is she's a couple shades lighter, but like we mentioned, that can be either fixed or just kept the same. Like it doesn't really matter that much at the end of the day.
Yeah, I've always said that. I mean, if the like I especially if there were like some like I remember like back in the day, the first Daredevil, they had Michael Clark Duncan as Kingpin, and I thought that was a great choice as Kingpin because Michael Clark Duncan is this big, intimidating presence with this booming voice, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, oh man, I could totally see him as Kingpin.
Great acting read, seeing that the person got the aura, so they don't even gotta ham it up and stuff like that.
Yeah, and when and no no disrespect to Vincent D'Onofrio, but like Michael Clark Duncan was probably one of the best choices for Kingpin around that time. And Vincent D'Onofrio, he does look like Kingpin, and he does have that calculative, soft spoken manner which Kingpin has in the comic books. And I'm like, yeah, I could, but I like him, but I also like Michael Clark Duncan. And it just depends on the type of movie that the actors are given.
Both great Kingpin characters. That being said, like you said, one's more of an action while the other one's more of a methodical Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, and there was also this other controversy coming up due to the character of what was his name?
Talking
What?
about the boyfriend archetype.
No, Ple, Plilky, due to the
Bleakley.
character Peakley. Yeah, him. And this was brought up on by Kotaku, so I'm like, oh yeah, stellar journalism right there. But they're basically mad that like you saw in the trailer that Jumbo and Pleakley are basically being portrayed by actual people who are like wearing like these holographic disguises.
Mm-hmm.
And they're actually they're actually mad because they're not going to have Pleakley in drag for this setting.
Disappointed, reasonable. Nah, a little unnecessary.
Yeah, because
Yes, it was like a good it was a funny part of the whole mission and it worked really, really well, especially for Blakely's character. He was a very like he was someone that could change his colors, be more masculine one issue, more feminine the next. And it was very funny and entertaining to see. It wasn't required though.
yeah, and like I think that they did it with that with for it was like for comedic effect because like in the beginning when they came to the island, Pleakley was trying on different wigs and
Vibed with that one the most.
yeah, and Jumba kept taking them away. He's like, "Oh, you're just jealous because I'm more pretty,"
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's just it was just a controversy, and I think that with this one they wanted to get a sense of realism because I think that they would notice a woman with one eye.
That or maybe maybe Disney was scared. Not saying that they had to be and that was the only reason, but maybe they were scared. They didn't know how to articulate that type of character theme. Nowadays with what's going on and the type of alignments they have, they just didn't know how to run with that, and that's okay.
Yeah,
I'd rather them completely remove it than make a mockery out of drag, especially with how it's been discussed in the media as of recently.
yeah. I mean, I like I respect people who dress in drag because like they'll feel comfortable, they'll feel liberated. But I mean, but like kids, people forcing their kids to dress in drag because they wanted a daughter, and I'm like, ugh. I actually heard that happen. I don't know if it actually happens, but
Well, even people of the LGBTQ view that as child abuse. That's not a normal practice and stuff like that in the drag community. Like if anyone in drag or someone a part of that community heard of that, probably calling CPS and being like, "You need to go investigate that parent's house, please and thank you."
yeah, and like this is I like guys. This is why I like talking to my buddy Sylph. He is part of the LGBTQ community. He is how many years have you transitioned out by now?
Started in middle school, so socially transitioned since holy shit. It's been quite a while now at this point. It's actually scaring me how far I have to go back thinking about middle school. Uh, Middle school was roughly 8 to 9 years ago, and
So
then medically transitioning about 2 to 3 years ago.
so yeah, the like the mainstream what everybody says about trans people, or how people are basically saying how trans people are, or how the activists are portraying trans people. They're nothing. They're nothing. They're just those are the people who up front. Self, hang on. Self, he's real. He and me and him have been shooting the ship for nearly 2 years. He's a good friend. He's a good friend, and I wouldn't trade him for the world.
Why, thank you, Juan. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem, buddy. But going back to the trailer, I mean, I enjoyed it. This was actually like something like like I actually enjoyed it. I liked the like I think it was Veen Rains who is basically Mr. Black, the Child Protective Service agent.
Cobra Bubbles.
Oh, Mr. Bubbles, and he's a CP, and he's a CPA child CPS agent, and it's like, and it's funny because he used to be in the CIA.
I
I'll
think
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say I think they nothing wrong with the current actor. That being said, you remember when you were talking about how one actor had the methodical side of Kingpin, the other one had the intimidating build and aura of Kingpin?
Yeah,
They
Michael.
didn't get that aura and build
Oh yeah,
for Cobra Bubbles. Like,
yeah,
yes, he sounds like he's got the voice for it. He sounds like he's going to be a phenomenal actor. But come on, it's not Cobra Bubbles. Like the man who would walk up, crack his knuckles, and Anya would have to keep looking up when she's reaching her arm through the doggy door to pull the darn nails out of the door.
yeah,
Also, if Lilo's not fighting, that is going to be a mark because that was like the most notorious thing about Lilo and Stitch is Lilo was a child who was reacting to trauma in a very kid way. It was unheard of to see children actually reacting to trauma in an emotional outburst in an aggressive way, not letting people bully them for their shortcomings. It was very refreshing to see, and I really will be disappointed if they wash that away in this remake.
Yeah, I mean, we did see her getting bullied, but I don't think that was like the full scene.
I'm hoping it's not.
So, but like Lilo and Stitch, it came out when I was like 19, or yeah, I think it was 19. I was 19 when no 19, 23, 25, 25. I was 25.
Hello, man.
Yeah, I was 25 when it came out, and I actually saw it, and I enjoyed it. I was like, I was like, well, I was like, wow, Disney actually. This was actually like the last great animated story that they did before they went exclusively to only Pixar movies.
I'd say Encanto. Encanto hits there.
Yeah, Encanto. I've seen Encanto. Oh, did you hear that they're going to do a sequel to Coco?
I hope they hit it out of the ballpark, because that could be one of the most satisfying sequels ever. Coco has such an amazing world building and character setup. They have so much to play with.
Yeah, and with me, I was so amazed of what they did with it. With me being Mexican, I was amazed of what they did. Like, I don't know. There were so many people. Like when he was in the Land of the Dead, there were
Mm-hmm.
people. There were so many famous celebrities that were there besides Carla.
Frida Kahlo.
Carla. There was Vicente Fernandez. There was El Santo, the masked wrestler El Santo. There was the comedian Cantiflas. There were so many musicians, and it was like, wow, these people really understand Mexican culture.
Mm-hmm.
And I just hope it doesn't like become like what this watered down version where they're trying to appease everyone, because with with Coco it was just so incredible. I mean, because it was just like I loved it because it was just like looking into my culture, what my heritage, and everything that I grew up around.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just excited to see this. All right, so Sylph, you are in the East Coast now.
Yes, I am.
So you could go to this amusement park as soon as it opens. It's going to open in the summer. We are going to be talking about Epic Park. They
Epic
are
Park. I think
eh,
I've heard about it. Is this the
eh,
one with many casualties?
no Epic Universe, not that one.
Okay.
It's a new Universal Studios. It's a new Universal Studios. I think I told you about this one because I was so excited when it was announced. It's this Universal Studios. It was created by Universal Studios, and right now it's getting closer and closer to the. It's getting closer and closer to the up to like making up. It's getting closer and closer to the opening, and
Mhm.
they are they are like releasing some great lands. Like I want to show you one of these lands because I know you're like a Potterhead, even though you do not agree with the artist.
Separating the art from the creator,
Yeah.
as
So
many other Potterheads have happily done.
yeah. So like the whole story about Epic Universes, you are in a gateway with different universes to go to. Like one of them is Super Nintendo World, another one is the Isle of Berk from How to Train Your Dragon. But
Oh yeah,
here,
we're going to that. I have seen something about that. I sadly, my husband was looking over my shoulder. He saw the Burke, and he's like, And I'm like, yes, I know. Basically, we're going there as soon as our bank, like our finances allow it. As soon as we have enough fund money to go do that, we will be doing that. Especially if we have like the time off for it.
Yeah, let me show you one of the worlds, and this is going to be the Wizarding World of Harry Potter Ministry of Magic. This is a virtual flyby. Let me
Oh,
put
by Gringotts?
yeah. No, it. You remember the first Fantastic Beast movie takes place in the World's Fair of in France?
Mm.
Look, here's the virtual flyby.
I haven't even been to the first Universal Studios, like Potter World and Honeydukes and Hogsmeade and all that. So that's another one to the list.
Yeah. So like Epic Universe is going. This one's going to have like. So you could like make a whole day. You and your husband could make like go like a whole week and go to like Universal Studios, Islands of Adventure, and Epic Universe.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you're gonna have to save a lot of money, but let's go like
Yeah.
yeah, let's go to the last subject today because you said you only have like an hour. So like we are going. Last subject is going to be D&D. The D&D. It's bad for D&D.
Yeah, sad. Hey, on the bright side, the kids aren't letting it die.
So first is going to be the D&D sales, like the newest edition. This is like I know you always had you with sales for newest editions of books like for the player's manuals, the monster manual, the player's guide, the monster manuals, the dungeon guides. They were supposed to the dungeon master guides. These were supposed to sell like hotcakes during the beginning, but now they're declining. It's like the latest edition, the in all other RPGs, the D&D editions, we see diminishing returns. Each follow-up supplement adventures and other products will sell fewer, have shorter tail, have a shorter tail. First one is the 5e D&D seeing declining sale. We're looking at, and this is all from BookScan.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the edition where monsters are flat out either removed or censored because they're not deemed politically correct or something that they don't want to risk with. They are changing the way stats is working with races and playable characters, and then they're also removing stat differences from races.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead.
So it's no surprise that people who are interested in D&D, a lot of the people that are purchasing these editions are people who already own the prior editions. So they're just like, nah, I'm not going to bother with all these rules I think are stupid, which most of the entire fandom has had outbursts about how unjust or stupid they think these changes or rules are. And they're deciding they're just going to play with their 4E edition because their 4E is far better than their 5E currently at the moment.
Yeah, and one of the things that they removed were the half races. Like, you can no longer be a half orc or a half dwarf or a half elf.
So these decline in prices is no flipping surprise, because the new people who are getting into buying D&D books and stuff like that are seeing all these outbursts from old veteran players, and it's like, you know what? Probably don't want that one if that's the one everyone's mad at, because if you're doing your research at least a little bit, Googling it before you're purchasing it, you're going to see Reddit talking about how crap it is. You're going to see BuzzFeed talking about the social media outbursts, and you're going to hear people talking about why you should not be buying it.
Yeah, and like Professor Dungeon Builder, have you seen the latest video? He's talking about how people are basically they said that they said that that there are videos of other D&D communities saying that it's not worth it.
As they should be. I just summed up why it's not worth it. Because what people are charging, what, $40, sometimes $60 for these books, and I understand it. It's premium printing with the hardcovers and the colored ink and all that. But it doesn't mean the information's quite worth the colored ink that's put on the front.
Yeah. All right. And another thing is that, like, Wizards have laid off a lot of staff again. And I told you this, like, last year, that they were going to go all into this tabletop thing. That didn't go so well.
Just like everyone guessed.
All right. Sigil, the virtual tabletop, it cut it like last week. It just cut off 90% of their staff. So basically, the one thing that it's going to have is like a skeleton crew. So Sigil, Unreal Engine 5 hard virtual tabletop built to support the latest version of Dungeons and Dragons arrive in a less than complete state just a few weeks ago. On Tuesday, team members went to LinkedIn to report that 90% of Wizards of the Coast staff who supported it had been laid off. Rascal was the first outlet to corroborate the story. Sorry.
You're fine. You're completely fine, man.
Yeah, with the anonymous source, reach for comments of Wizard of the Coast confirmed that the layoffs for Polygon. Blaine Howard, senior manager and brand publicity, also linked us to a landing page for Sigil, which knows the platform remains live. And Howard also shared the shared the email, which he said was sent yesterday to all employees. It attributes to Dan Rousen, Senior Vice President of Dungeons and Dragons and Hasbro Direct. Dear team, I want to share an important update regarding Sigil. After a few months of alpha testing, we've concluded that our aspirations for Sigil as a large standalone game with distinct monetization paths will not be realized. As such, we cannot maintain the large development efforts, and most of Sigil's team will be separated from the company this week. We are, however, proud of what the Sigil team has developed and want to make sure that the fans and players on the DDB can use it. To that end, we will transition Sigil to the DDB feature, and we will maintain a small team to sustain Sigil and release the products already developed at no additional cost to those moving on. As a result of this discussion, we will provide robust support, including severance packages, 2024 bonus career platform services, internal opportunities where possible. I want to take a moment to praise the entire Sigil team for their incredible work and deliver this product to the community, to our community. One of the things I am most proud of here in D&D is our strong sense of purpose. We aim to honor the current players while ensuring D&D continues and build a connection and bring joy to future generation, and that's what Sigil team was doing. Although we haven't realized our vision of Sigil to scale, the team should be proud of the achievement. Thank you for understanding and continue support. If you have questions or concern, please reach out, Dan. So, yeah, D&D bit off more than they could chew.
Yeah, they're like, hey, we tried this. We thought it'd be fun. We were wrong. So we're gonna still take your money, and you can have what we made, but we have no promises it will stay okay. As I was hearing that, it's like, man, that's gonna be a glitchy game. Like a glitchy way to play tabletop for the next year and a half, as long as it runs.
Yeah. This is like with Sigil, and with this is like a 1-2 punch with WotC. First, the sales to the new editions are down, and now the Sigil team is being cut back to skeleton crew just to keep it running, and there's no guarantee it's going to stay running.
So they literally scammed a bunch of people. Technically, they promised a bunch of stuff, then realized they couldn't continue the promise, and so now they're backing out now that they've got everybody's money, and they're like, you can get like a small bit back possibly, but only if you were the uber best utmost nicest supporter the entire time.
Yeah, and I remember I told you about how they actually had like the pre-order bonuses for video, and it looked like a tier list for a video game. And when I first saw the Sigil trailer, at the end, it had Dritz Stewart Erden, it had other character, it had who was the main vampire in Ravenloft? Strahd.
Me, I got no clue.
Strahd. It had Strahd.
Strahd?
Yeah, and it had Vecna. But at the end, it actually had one of the virtual pieces. Like it had Optimus Prime, and I was like, when does Optimus Prime fit in D&D?
He just does, because he's owned by Hasbro, so they have a right to use him if they want.
Yeah.
It's like Wreck-It Ralph breaks the internet. Disney owns as much as they can, so they can put whatever the hell they want into their movies. To hell of it if it makes sense that Star Wars, Stan Lee, and Disney princesses are all in the same thing. They did it because they could.
Yeah. All right, but like before we go, this is what I showed you this, and I showed you this, and I am so happy that like old school D&D heads like you are still can still are still getting support. Uh, Damn it.
I'm happy it's happening too. I'm considered old school now.
Yep. Oh crap. No. Well, you started at third edition, didn't you?
Yeah, second and the third, whichever one I could get my hands on at the time being. Sometimes the third edition got rented out, and so I begged my librarian to borrow her personal. It helped that I didn't ruin books, I think.
Yeah. So here we go. This was brought up by the Gygax estate. Gary Gygax is bringing. They're releasing Gary Gygax World Building Archives, and this was the stuff he was not able to release from D&D. Funded in 11 minutes. 1,189 backers.
I think the lack of Hasbro's name on it helped push it, honestly.
All right. I've never seen the trailer for this. I've heard about this one. All right. So this is from Troll Lord Games. I think that's one of Gygax's sons. Or all right.
Back in 2001, when we first began working with Gary Gygax, he pitched this wonderful series of books to us. He called them the Gygaxian Fantasy Worlds, and what he envisioned was this encyclopedic set of books for role players, writers, game designers, the whole lot of us that we could use in making our games, creating our adventures, writing stuff for publishable content, whatever it may be. And there was really no end to what he envisioned this series to be. We eventually published The Canting Crew, The World Builder, Living Fantasy, 7 volumes in total. We had another 3 that were ready to go to print, another 3 or 4 after that we were working on. So the series was really open-ended. We are bringing these back. That's what this Kickstarter is. We've got 7 books online ready to be printed. We've got another 3 right after that we want to get it minimally out as we were working on them at the time. Those will be out definitely in PDF, depending on how well Kickstarter does, and maybe even more than that once we kind of push beyond the necessary stretch goals and all that mess. But welcome to the what we're calling the Gary Gygax World Building Archives, and please give us your support. Share it around if you can. Pledge if you can. Whatever you need to do, whatever you can do for us and the memory of Gary Gygax, we very much appreciate it.
Troll Lord Games, join the fray.
So yeah, all right. The rundown. Thank you. All right. So here are the 7 books.
So if you can support the Gygax and you like D&D, you know where to go. Screw Hasbro.
Yeah.
Leave them in the dust. Go here. Go get some actual appreciation for your support and actual true blue love from D&D players and people that want to build a world just as much as you do.
Yeah, so go to Troll Lord Games and pre-order since it's already finished in Kickstarter. Try and get the Gygax World Builder Archive. I mean, look at this stuff. I mean, you could the urban and physical the land you can they're giving you tips on how to create a landscape, giving you how to create a civilized world. The table of content is just massive, and this is and look at this.
He was not joking nor pulling punches when he said, if you want to be a writer, let it be comic, animation, or you want to be video game, or you want to be a D&D player, this is for you. It's for any creative person that has a desire to build any form of world that you want any like fantasy or any medieval themes in it, that's your place.
Yeah. All right. So what the archive is Gary Gygax's World Building Archive is an encyclopedic series envisioned by the co-creator of D&D, Dungeons & Dragons, Gary Gygax, convinced the series as an open-ended collection of role-playing game aids for game masters and the players whose specific focus is on creating settings, adventures, world building. Each volume was written and co-written or edited by Mr. Gygax. His overall goal and intent was to eventually cover all the bases of our gaming world. First of these books, The Canteen Crew, published in 2001. 6 volumes followed. More were planned before his passing in 2008. And now for the first time since they were pulled from the market in 2008, this collection of Gygaxian knowledge returns to the gaming world. Through this Kickstarter, we hope to bring back all 7 volumes and more. Join us in reviving part of gaming heritage to flood our tables with a mountain of gaming content. And just look at this. This is art from the book.
They can have my paycheck.
So go to Troll Lord Games. It's just the entire wow.
It's true D&D love.
Yeah.
Like the old artists and the people that were making the fronts of comics, the cover art and table of contents art, the background art for these types of books, it's the same type of love.
Yeah. And I feel like the art that's going on, that I mean the orc tribe, the one that we saw and we were talking about,
Mm-hmm.
I feel that art is wasted in D&D right now.
It is. It's so beautiful and it's so like warm and it's got like culture to it. Yet Hasbro themselves doesn't even know the culture that's coming from it. Like those panels that you showed me of orcs that are living in these desert type areas that are having eels on their faces to imitate facial hair and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There is love and passion in it, but it's slightly off the nail because it's not coming from the right people or going to the right people, I should say.
Yeah, and those weren't eels, those were squigs.
Squakes, thank you so much.
Yeah, sorry. I don't mean to be that guy, but
No. If I'm wrong, let me know. You did a very nice way of being polite about it.
Yeah. I really like this picture right here. Such a great picture. Like something I would see I could totally see this out of Lord of the Rings, or like
I was thinking the exact same thing. I was like, they just came home from somewhere, or they're celebrating from a battle or something like that.
Or even like just looking at it, you could come up with so much ideas from it if you have a creative mind. Like I could see these are a group of adventurers just came into town. Nobody knows them. And like right here, guide to adventure writing. This would be like the perfect way to create characters, story elements for a campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, what is
101?
Yeah, what is the story about these bird riders? What can you think of? What can you think of? And I'm like, and that like that's what I've always liked about creating, being part of a creative writing thing, writing,
Mm-hmm.
creative writing, and that's what I like. So like, guys, if you love D&D, if you love tabletop, if you have a passion to create, to play, and bring your friends into, go to Troll Lord Games. Get the Gygax World Building Archives. This is from the guy who helped create D&D. The guy who they say is misogynistic misogynistic and was wrong because he was a little conservative. You know what his son said? That Gary said, everyone was welcome at the table. And I think that's one of the best things he would ever bring up. He would ever say.
Good. Okie dokies. Thank you so much for having me on today, Juan. I really appreciate it.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. If you're watching, if you had watched us live, or if you're catching us on a rerun, thank you a lot. I'm Bandito Bane, the well-rounded nerd, the Super Spider-Man fan, and the Warhammer noob, and this is Sylph, my resident tabletop expert. And thanks for watching Geeks Talking Geek. Hopefully I'll be back with more geek knowledge to drop on you. So in the meantime, keep playing and God bless.
Blessed be. Bye-bye.